Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Immortal Blue here, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about state changes and the importance of state changes, the upside and the downside of a change in state of consciousness, and being able to see different things and different clues after the state change happens. One of the downsides to this is that the clues to getting unstuck, a lot of us are stuck. We can't see the way out of our current trap, our current pattern, whether it's financially, socially. We're in a current state, and that state is determined by our past experiences. In other words, you go on a few job interviews, and those job interviews don't work out, you don't get the job. Or you have someone tell you you can't do something, or this would be dangerous. The same way we avoid getting into a car accident or going down the wrong road or getting stuck in traffic, we try to avoid getting into these uncomfortable situations, and we continue to go down the paths that we've already gone down. The problem is the way out of the trap you're in is on a path you haven't taken, and a potential problem is also on one of those paths you haven't taken. And so by staying on the same path, nothing changes, and in fact, things usually get worse because the excitement and the energy that was on those paths when they were new now starts to dwindle as you keep doing things over and over again. Here's the issue with a state change. Imagine you're a person who doesn't know how to swim, and you look at a lake or a pond or a place to potentially swim, and all you can think about is that you could drown if you step in the water, that you could literally drown and not be able to do anything. And so you have this fear of water. So one day somebody trains you how to swim slowly but surely over the months and years. They teach you how to first do the dog paddle, then do freestyle, and eventually you're able to go into water without even having anybody watch you. And it becomes a lot of fun. You're now able to go back to that lake you initially saw, and instead of having this doom and gloom dread that you're potentially going to drown, now with years of training, you can see yourself going in to cool off, to competition, race against people, have a whole bunch of fun in the water. You're looking at the exact same lake. The clues, now here's the question, the clues to all this fun you could have were not there when you were initially looking at that lake before you knew how to swim. Because this feeling of potentially drowning, because you had never swam before in your life, kept popping up, and that fear blocked all the clues that this could be a lot of fun down the road because all you could think about was drowning. That's what's called a state change. And the problem with it is so often in life, we're like the person who doesn't know how to swim, is afraid of drowning, and is looking at that lake and can't see the fun part yet because they haven't developed the skills or that change in state where they can see that potential coming out. And what it does is it renders the clues to your own success camouflaged. They're there, but they're in the background. Think of two people, one who's gone on job interviews that have been successful, and another person who've gone on a couple job interviews and they never got the job. Now they both go on a new job interview. The one that had gotten the yeses in the past, gotten the jobs off the interviews they went on, can see the potential of getting a yes again. The person who got nothing but no's can seize the downfall and the failure of even trying to go on a job interview because it's going to be a blow to their confidence, a blow to their ego, and they may not even get the job anyway. They're both going on the same exact job interview, but those clues that it could work are in the state of the person who's gotten it to work before in the past. Now, here's the problem. How do you get it to work if it hasn't worked in the past and you can only see those negative things? And that's what I've noticed in these state changes is, for example, I'm a public speaker, I'm an activist, I'm a housing activist. Before I will give the speech in front of a new audience, a lot of doubts start coming up in my mind. Well, I haven't done this before, I haven't spoken in front of this specific audience. What if this goes wrong? What if I don't get my point across? Even with technology, how do I download this app? How do I get this to work? I've never done it before. How do you cut and paste a visual image. When you haven't done something before, there's no evidence of how to do it going forward. But once done, all of a sudden now you can zoom through it like it's nothing. And you get this incredible confidence boost. Now I get an incredible confidence boost when I give a public speak, when I do public speaking, because of my success in the past. Well, I'm speaking in front of the same people. They're all the doubts I had before are suddenly now replaced by this confidence because I got it to work once. That's a state change. You can't, it's hard to figure out how to do something you've never done before or you've only had a bad experience with. And therefore, it literally is visually off your radar. It's not on your radar screen. You can't, doing moves if you're trying out for the wrestling team or you're trying out for football, knowing the plays before you've ever learned them is impossible. You have to learn them to know them. So the confidence that comes with looking at the football field and saying, I can swing past this guy, I can make a sack, that doesn't come until you know how to execute the plays and perfect them as time goes on. You can't do that if you've never studied the plays before. But the problem is so many people will look at that and go, I don't know how to do this. I haven't learned it. It doesn't make any sense. And they hit a brick wall. And for decades, they're never able to move beyond that point because it is impossible to know something that you've never learned. You have to learn at least the basics of it to be able to move on to the next level. And so it creates almost this blindfold effect where you're now living in a world where this is impossible. I don't know how to do this. This is too difficult. I might as well not even try. And it causes people to shrink back and not try at things. And what I'm here to say is when you hit that state change, you're going to be able to look at the same exact situation and have the answer and all the confidence that comes with the answer. Don't think you're going to be forever in the situation you're in now if you keep moving forward. But if you let it cause you to shrink back, we stay in the same state. And the sad part of this is it can be a state that we're in for decades, if not the rest of our lives. So push through that uncomfortability and learning and watch all of a sudden these clues are going to start popping up. Whatever it is, your field, your career, relationships. Once you get a little bit of a grasp of how it's done, your entire world changes, and now you're seeing everything from a completely new perspective. That won't happen until you push through that fear of the unknown barrier. It won't happen until you get a grasp of what it is you're supposed to see. You can't sit back where you are and see the clues pop up on their own. It doesn't happen that way. You can't see the path to victory until you move towards the path to victory. It doesn't come on its own. So judging something, oh, I've never done this before and it seems too hard and there's no evidence, there isn't going to be any evidence of your success until you say, I'm just going to go ahead and try this and do this. And then the evidence comes and all of a sudden you become a master where before you were standing completely still. So realize you have to get to the state change and it changes your entire perspective. You won't be moving as slowly as you are now when you're there. But if you look at things from the point of view you're seeing them now, before the state change, there will be no evidence of how you're going to succeed. There is no evidence of the pathway to victory. There is no proof that you're ever going to make it out of the situation you're in because the state you're in is a state of pre-knowing. And therefore, it looks as far as the sky, as far as the horizon, no way out. And there literally is no way out in the state you're in. But once you change the state, things that are in the background suddenly become obvious. And that's what I want you to realize about state changes. If you can change your state, if you can move towards that unknown, you have more tools at your disposal than you have now. You're not moving a mile an hour. You're moving, 10 times as fast as you're moving now. Your confidence is 10 times as strong as it is now. But if you're looking at everything from the point of view of now, before you hit that state change, it seems hopeless. And this literally, folks, keeps people stuck where they are the rest of their lives. You have to move into the unknown, knowing you're going to make mistakes, you're going to mess up. reach that pinnacle of the state change, and then suddenly you're going to look at the same exact situation and you're going to see victory where before you only saw defeat. It's invisible now, it's in the background now. It's things that seem like they don't even matter are suddenly going to pop up, and they're going to be like, "Oh my God, this was the whole thing all along." It seemed like nothing before. It seemed like nothing because of your state. Change your state, and suddenly the clues reveal themselves. It's like someone takes highlighter and highlights all the things that were just in the background, and now they're the path to your success. This is the power of state changes. I'm going to go more into this in the future. But the most important thing to remember is the dark side of state changes is before the state change, before the information, there's no evidence at all of how you're going to get out of the mess you're in. It only happens when you just go for it and just jump off the cliff, metaphorically speaking, and the evidence starts to come. Without you taking that chance, you can be stuck where you are for a very, very long time. And so we'll go more into the depth of this, but the positive side is don't think your speed or your knowledge where you are now is going to stay the same forever. Once you push through this barrier, everything changes. It completely changes for the better, and you will see that the confidence and initiative you have will be like your superpower, but only if you venture into the unknown beyond that fear barrier and take the risk of utter failure. Does that happen? If you don't, you remain on the couch, you remain in the safe zone, and you remain never achieving your true potential. And that's a horrible place to be. It's worth the risk of changing your state. You change your state, you literally change everything. I'm Immortal Blue, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe, and I'll be back with you next week on more about states and how they can affect your life.